Hello everyone. Today, me and my friend we're gonna do a presentation about analysis regular verb and irregular verb. Before we start the presentation, we're gonna introduce ourselves. And then first, my name is Igustiayu Intan Pratnya Paramita. My NPM is 2001 88203021. And my friend.
My name is Gusayu Adivitri Advitanasari. My NPM is 2001 88203011.
First is I'm gonna explain about tenses. Tenses is any form of the verb that might be used to show the time of act, an event, or the state is expressed by the verb. The verb that are three kind of the tenses. They are first past tense, which is the form of the verb that usually express an action that happened in the past. Second is present tense, which is the form of a verb that usually express an action that happened in the present or at this time. And then the third or the last is future tense. Future tense is the form of the verb that usually express an action that will happen in the future. Next. In this presentation, we're gonna focus on one tenses, which is simple past tense. So simple past tense is tenses that to show an action that happened in the past, which is generally used with a specific past time, such as yesterday, last night, ago, or next, and others. For the example is, I washed the car yesterday. I watched the French movie last night. And then next, simple past tense has a form which is the past simple tense using to be in the positive sentence is subject plus was or were. In the negative is subject but plus was not or were not. And then for interrogative is was, were plus subject. And then for the verbs, the positive sentence is subject plus verb ed. And then for the negative sentence is subject plus did not plus verb. And then for the interrogative is did plus subject and then plus verb. Next. And then now I'm going to explain about regular verbs. Regular verb is verb that from the past tense by adding d or ed. In the base form or plain form, regular verb from the past tense by the addition of ed or t or ed sound, which is represented in the written language by letters ed. Next. And then now I'm gonna show you the example of the verb in regular verb. Verb 1 is close, verb 2 is close, and verb 3 is close. And then the other example you can see in the screen. And then next is irregular verbs. Irregular verbs are verbs that change according to the tense and do not completely with normal complication. The past tense in irregular verb are not formed from the basic verb, which is verb 1 or infinitive, plus letter D or ED letters. And then for the verb 2 or past tense, irregular verb for their past tense differently through not always through a vowel and consonant change, so that this form must be memorized by the learner or the student. The next is example of irregular verb. For example, verb 1 is eat, verb 2 is ate, and then verb 3 is eaten. And then for the other example, you can see on the screen. Next. The next is will explain by my friend.
Thank you for the time. Now I would like to explain about the method. The design of This study is qualitative research. Research is constructed with quantitative research, places more emphasis on the study of phenomena from the perspective of insider. Data used in this research is the form of verb to, but regular and irregular verb, while the search data in this research is the student reading competitions. In collecting data in this research, the researchers use document analysis. The use of documents of the study has a long tradition in qualitative research. The document is a record of events that have already passed. The document used in this research is taken from the result of the 14 student reading essay. In analyzing data in this research should be an ongoing process throughout after the collections of data. There are three steps in analysis data. They are data reductions, data displays, and conclusions, drawings, or verifications. For the next is findings and discussions. This is examples that use in article of ratings competitions. And now I would like to explain the findings and the discussions. The essay above shows that the student used the regulars and irregular verbs in her or his writings. The regular verbs are decided, liked, arrived, departed, and invited. Those verbs follow the spelling rules of the word with the endings E is added by D. For examples, the verbs one is decide, change to the verb two into decided. And the verb one is like, then change to the verb two into like it. And the verb one is invite, change to the verb two into invited. The common regular verb is added by ed. For example, the verb one is depart, change to the verb two into departed, while the irregular verbs are was, taught, made, built, or brought. Those are verbs so in irregular patterns. The verb one is it, change to the verb two into was, and the verb one is things, change to the verb two into taught. The verb one is make, change to the verb two into made. And the last is the verb one is build, change to the verb two into build. The verb one is buy, change the verb two into brought. Or for another essay, we use the same methods too. You can look at the screens. You can read the verbs for sorry. You can read like the verbs, for examples of verbs that was, the place is in paragraph 1, line 1, and sentence 1. The next is the conclusion. The conclusion is related to the using of regulars and irregular verbs in our 14 student writings on essay. It's so that the student use both regular and irregular verbs, especially as a past tense in their students' reading uneasy. But regulars and irregular verbs are 312 data in verb 2, especially past tense. In the regular verbs, there are 142 data or 45 counts 51%. And in the irregular verbs, there are 170 data or 54 count 49%. It's so that the most dominant verbs past written by the student in their student writing essay is on irregular verbs. Regular verbs are verbs that change according to the tense and change it irregularly. Regular verbs are verbs whose change comply with a normal rules. That is, with aid the letters added D or added ed to the verb first until forms it use verb one, especially in infinitives. So that is a becomes of verbs of forming regular verbs by adding the letters ed, suffix or d in these basic verbs for infinitive. Irregular verbs are verbs that change according to the tense and do not comply with normal completions. The past tense irregular verbs are not forms, basic verbs, or infinitives verbs, plus letters and added d or ed letters. Regular verbs form their past tense differently through a vowel and a consonant change, so that these are the student and the learners.
So that's all of our presentation. Sorry for all of the mistake and the mispronunciation that we made. And then the last is thank you.